Sorry, I'm all nervous again. The puppet awoke slowly, the stiffness fading from its limbs as the dusty sunlight passed over it. Its fingers began to move against the wood of the table beneath it, tracing the winding wood grain with the tip of one jointed finger. As its body began registering the sensations around it, the worn wooden table, the softness around its joints, the cool shadows pooling on the flagstones, its fingers stopped tapping on the table, and it pushed itself up into a sitting position. It felt the metal and cloth in its back shift and stretch, the pieces pressing against each other. Its elbows clicked and twisted, and the segments of its waist and hips pressed together. As it sat up, the puppet looked down at its chest, running its fingers over the embroidery that spun across its fabric skin. The delicate concentric circles contained the twist of a snail shell, the sheen of mother-of-pearl shimmering inside the thread, runes set into the patterns with the intimacy of raindrops resting on a spider's web. The puppet wondered what they were for, a warm thrum spreading through its fingers as it brushed over the stitches. A sound carried through the small room, bouncing from the warped glass of the window down to the sun-dulled rag rug by the fireplace. A cough, followed by a wet, phlegmatic rattle. The puppet turned its head, realizing that a staircase crept up in the right corner of the room, curling around like a dragon's tail. It stood, dropping to all fours like a bug before standing up fully. Wobbling a little on its feet, it followed the sound of the dark, cramped stairs. The room at the top of the stairs was stuffed with the smell of rot, collected sweat and skin, bile and sickness. The curtains and bedsheets were saturated with smoke, soaked through with sweat and the miasma of decay. Though the woman lying in the bed was shriveled and yellowed with illness, when her eyes met the puppet's, they lit up as though there were candles set into her skull. Her face split into a tired, waxy smile, skin crinkling soft as tissue paper at the corners of her mouth. "So you came back," she murmured, voice sagging like an empty sail. "I missed you. Gods, I missed you so much." She coughed again, spitting up blood and phlegm, her jaw cracking wet wood in a fire. She beckoned to the puppet with a papery hand. Its eyes widened, the mechanisms in its jaw shifting as if mimicking the motion of the woman's speech. I don't understand." Its voice was tentative, dipping into silence at random. Its fabric tongue brushed against its wooden teeth, the shifting softness of fibers layering its voice as it shaped the syllables. "What am I? Why am I here? I'm sorry." The woman's smile faded a little, her features sinking further into the depths of her face, as though the hollows at her cheeks and temples were slowly pulling her down into the dark. She beckoned to the puppet, and it pulled itself along the warped bed frame, the metal in its joints shining in the dull, diffuse sunlight. As it settled in front of her, the woman gazed up at its face as her eyes began to dim. "That's all right. You'll find out, I promise. But first, you'll need a name." The puppet reached out, jointed fingers twitching, and cupped the woman's face, feeling the bones shift under her damp skin as she spoke. "You're warm," she smiled. "That's good. Your name is Twin." She placed her hand over the embroidery on Twin's chest, first soft, then grasping tightly, scraping at the stitches with weakening desperation. Twin stiffened, its hand gripping the side of her face, a prickling, burning pain spreading across its chest, following the embroidery like nerve endings. A soft, dull ache, like the memory of a bruise, followed. Then a pulsing warmth, like the heart at the centre of a lantern or the embers of a falling fire, travelled from the woman's cooling fingertips and settled within Twin's chest, curling in on itself like a fox falling asleep. The woman coughed once more, blood and spit trailing from her mouth, and fell back on her thin pillow. Twin looked at her, still gripping her face. They observed as a milky film spread over her open eyes, as soft noises emerged from her settling body, and the smell of decay in the room grew slowly stronger. The puppet took the stained bedsheet in its hands, tucking it under the woman's body, pushing the body across, watching it fall heavily to the side. It pulled the body up by one drooping arm, looking at the shift of the bones in the shoulder joint, comparing it to its own of metal and wood. Its own joints moved like hers had, and the warm lantern flare in the puppet's chest pulsed. The beading across its fabric skin glimmered like fireflies in the dark. "Why did you leave me?" Its voice quavered, the warmth in its chest tracing the patterns of embroidery across its skin. It lifted her limp hand once more, staring at the scars scattered across her fingers, white pinpricks, but some fresh, scabbed over. It pressed its jointed wooden hands to hers, even as her fingers had stiffened. "I still need you." Her mouth hung open, mockingly, Twin thought. It could still see the crinkling of the skin at the corners of her lips where she had smiled so softly. The puppet pushed her mouth shut and wrapped her fully in the bedsheet before lifting her body up, cradling her shrouded form in its arms. She was heavier than her thin boned frame suggested, and the puppet struggled to keep itself balanced as it carried her down the cramped stairway. It did not know where to put her. The floor seemed wrong, and then it remembered the table it had awoken on. Twin could still see the outline of their own body in the dust. Hefting the woman, it put her down, tucking the sheet carefully around her. It turned away, pulling a blanket from a chair and wrapping the stained soft wool around itself. And then it walked away, out of the room, out of the house, and into the sunlight.